Well, hello there, everyone. You hear show you right here. I'm talking about making producing copies right here, and that seems like to me, like everybody else might even say too, that why do you think that that would be what you call one of the top priority jobs that more likely that you would have at some point? And let's just say if it's going to be besides signing documents, it's going to be making copies or something, and everybody else might even say that really that between picking up the telephone and making a call and maybe before having to have a credit card hand or anything like that, talk about producing copies, and it could also it could be related to any anything important, or it could also be related to any sorts of conversations or decisions made by the judge or something like that. But still that on the other hand, that whenever you're going to be on the phone a lot of times, but it sure seems that way that based on from my experience right here is to where that that if you're going to be on the phone talking with somebody about something a lot of times too, and it sure seems that way that well, a lot of times it seems like the experience from whenever you actually talk to somebody about something and what the possibilities would be and what are your options and all that, and by the time that piece of mail is actually delivered to you in your in your mailbox, right? And like everybody else might even say that that's usually the way it goes whenever it comes to understanding about how something works. And by the time it's here, then that's whenever you'll realize maybe just a little bit about how that works. But I'll go and show everybody here about options about making copies right here. So let's just say that this right here is supposed to be like some source of document right here that you're trying to make a copy of. And if you were to click share right here, then it would give you these options to where if you want to go ahead and export, open it up in Outlook, and then also if you want to post on Facebook or on Twitter, and then you have LinkedIn right here, and then always on display. And so you got these different choices of these different apps right here, and if we can all see this right here, that Snapchat and Skype, and then also Outlook, and then the QR code scanner, and so really that it sure seems that way that whenever you're working on something, and let's just say that of all what you were doing was that you were just taking down notes, or if anything you were just typing up something so that way you can kind of read and go through about what was discussed during that meeting. And so you'll want to know too that what are your options more like, what are your options. And it sure seems that way that that you would probably maybe ask that question to where that really why would your option be to post it and to publish the conversation. But why would your option go this far? Yeah, why would your option go this far? So let's just say if it's going to be maybe making copies or something, or if anything that you're kind of like I'm wondering or something like that. But it sure seems that way. It all starts by saying is toward it. The story goes by saying toward that you were just sitting there on your rocket chair with in your pajamas talking over the phone with somebody, and yeah. So let's just say that if you're trying to take care of something important though, but it sure seems that way that it all kind of starts by saying to where you have a conversation, and nowadays it sure seems that way that you go ahead and run your payment over the phone, and maybe if you do look at the paperwork and then maybe sign and complete the application or something like that by paper form as soon as you get in the mail and all that. So but it sure seems that way that you're making copies of something, and so it sure seems that way that a lot of times that for any documents that are modified, and maybe any documents that need to be read, verified and read on a letterhead or something like that. And that's why it sure seems that way that that nowadays with digital technology, though, that the easier, convenient ways of how to do that. And so it sure seems that way that you have these share options right here. So you have this right here where it says copy the link and send file. And so if you do have an email address available, then you would have these options right here to where you can send it this. You can share this with somebody as long as you have an email address, right? But at the time it seems like that. Yeah, copy to clipboard and then also copy to, I'm like, yeah, copy to clipboard. So you get these different options. You create a note for it, and then also email, and then the flipboard right here, and then the HP print to enterprise right here, and then you also have this option right here to where you can do QR code scanner and screenshot right here. So it sure seems that way that each time we think about that, though, is toward it. Yeah, well, really, that what you really are trying to do is that just for your reference, even that what you really are doing was is that you were actually were trying to take care of a bill payment, over the phone during a time. But like everybody else might even say too, that just for your reference, that if people, in case of everybody else that doesn't know how that works, or if you're just trying to help guide somebody else, and a lot of times it seems like if you're just trying to help guide somebody else on how to do that. So it's like I talk about for electronic money paid right there, and let's just say that somebody else that didn't know how to do that, and so they're gonna maybe ask, is that exactly how does that work? But it sure seems that way that what do we call it, Michael? Yeah, if we were to say something like that, now it's your turn. Give this a try. You might see that on an advertisement. Hey, give this a try. Yeah, copy and paste. Copy and paste it here, or something like that. Copy and paste it here. And I know that, like, if you're going to be, try this, yeah. Try this. So yeah. So we would get these options right here to talk about for paste and clipboard and then select all. So let's just say that on average, though, that you have the copy and paste right there, but then also you have that toward that just to make it more easier and convenient, right? But like everybody else might even say, that are these options always available, especially that if you're just kind of scrambling around, and you goes by saying this toward that you need one hand to be able to hold the phone up to your ear, and one hand to be able to write something down, and maybe a one hand that just to be able to use for a sticky note or something like that. And that's why it sure seems that way, that whenever it comes to understanding the basics right here. And so it sure seems that way, that why does it seem like a 15-minute conversation seems to be up to maybe 3 to 4 hours, or maybe 4 days of training or something like that, or maybe 1 full week of training just to be able to get everything all situated and all that. But at the time, you want to know too that you would maybe think that your first job, whenever you first start working a job, you would maybe think that your first job, if anything, would be is to where that if anything, is that maybe sign something, or yeah, to go ahead and maybe do printing press or something, like, yeah, maybe something else besides using a copy machine. But like everybody else might even say too, that you actually your job would actually be is toward it keeping the files organized, or for any reason at all, that yeah, that like everybody else might even say, that you maybe would have agreed, according to your application, that you agreed to where that you would be the front desk assistant. You were not really in charge of the copy machine or anything, in case of anybody that were to walk up to your desk and say that I need a copy of this. And so it sure seems that way, that why does it seem quite common to where that somebody's going to be asking you to make a copy of something, or something like who did I talk to about a verification or something like that. But it sure seems that way, that whenever you're going to be over the phone, that it seems like that phone conversation that you do have with somebody, and it seems like that there's something more that they're asking you to do. Do me a favor and check your email. Yeah, do me a favor and open up a WordPress and go ahead and get a copy made for me, so that way we can go ahead and send that off to the tax office or something like that. So it sure seems that way, that a lot for what sometimes a lot of things for what I gotta do, require more than just what you call picking out the phone and then actually talking to the person. No, but a lot of times it sure seems that way, that number one, that you think that something's already taken care of and find out it's not, and that can be very aggravating too. But it sure seems that way, why is it that maybe that share option can't be available to everybody there at the front desk or something like that, to where hey, if you got a problem, just click this button right here, click the share button right there, and then you're given these options right here. So it sure seems that way, link sharing. So it sure seems that way, that would we all maybe do that, and for any reason at all, that if we got mad enough to where if we're going to say that listen, the paperwork's right there, quit calling me and bothering me about it or something like that, or that so it's like so anything, any documents or anything like that need to be people somebody that might need a copy of or something like that. But still, though, a lot of times this person could be calling you and bugging you about something, because one of those reasons is because that they don't know how to do that. They don't really have the knowledge. Okay, I don't know how to do that. If you can help guide me on what I need to do. I don't know how to do that, and so it sure seems that way, that number one, that I'll even tell everybody that whenever I first started doing this, I was in my pajamas, and that I had to gain my knowledge by sitting at a rocking chair, even barefoot, just to be able to take care of something. And even if it was a Saturday morning, that's really how I learned. And I don't understand maybe why some of us might even say that if you're trying to get a copy, make a copy of something important, that why it seems so difficult whenever some office desk assistants, that some of them that don't even know how to do that. And I say, yeah, well, if it's not our equipment, then for sure we don't know how to do that. But still, like I said before, that the ways that you can do that, which number one is by email, by the way. So a lot of these companies would say that, come on, if you know how to do email, then you know how to get a copy. To send that person a copy, you can do it pretty easy and simple just by using the email address. It's not that hard, and so that's why it sure seems that way. You feel like telling some of these people that, if you're if somebody's asking to get a copy of something, and I want to know too that, yeah, well, really, that the email, I think, in a lot of ways, I'm like, email addresses are really what you call the most convenient way that I can think of. Besides, anybody may even say too that, well, really, because if you're trying to send somebody a copy directly to their inbox, that they might have to be logged into their account first, number one, just to be able to check their inbox and just to be able to see that copy attachment right there. And that's why it sure seems that way. That, when we're talking about making a copy of something, that we're also talking about that you're really, just for verification purposes or something like that. But it's like, come on now, you did not receive that copy, or you still can't figure that out. But still that. But on the other hand, though, that this right here is actually an example right here of 18 or older, and so a lot of things I can maybe talk about a lot of things back whenever I was younger than the age of 18. That I used a copy machine mainly just to get practices for it, but like everybody else might even want to know too, that whenever you first started using a copy machine, I actually was I think I was 12, 13 years old when I first used the copy machine. And during that time, that it was, I thought that it was pretty neat, just way of smelling the ink and toner and everything on that copy machine. But in a lot of ways, it was not over. It was not always over something real important. Sometimes it was, just check it out or something. But still, like everybody else might even say that if you're just checking out something, that you're just going to be doodling around and just messing around or whichever. But still, but like everybody might even say too, that yeah, if you're just trying to figure it out, but you'll just be doodling. But still, but on your hand, that when we're talking about sharing documents, that there really ain't no reason why I would need to share this document with anybody. But like this right here, to invite somebody. So let's just say that if you were to invite anybody that's in your connections, and let's just say that you had the option to where you can go ahead and share any documents with anybody that's saved, any contacts, anybody that's going to be saved in your contacts list. Like if you're trying to get a hold of a client or somebody like that, then you can easily do that. Just by clicking that option right here where it says share. And but on the other hand too, that it's like everybody else might even say that yeah, I get a copy. And so this right here, yeah, download it right here, make available online, offline, and the details right here. So if I were to click on details right there, of course it's going to tell me the details about modified on April the 22nd, and then created on April 22nd. And so that information right there is going to show up right there. And it's like if I want to move it, and but still it so it's like that there's really no reason why I need to be pushing buttons, but I'm just showing everybody here all this right here because anyone with this edited link can edit. And so this gives us that ability to where what we can do with these files. But at the same time, though, it sure seems that way that yeah, if you were to try to show somebody how to make a copy of something, then they still can't figure it out, just because that well, really, number one, that what they really are trying to do is that the IT or something, like, yeah, you're talking about for the IT or something like that. It's a file that's like, yeah, based on the computers. If you're using a company computer, or maybe if you're not even using a personal computer, to which that really makes a difference right there. But it sure seems that way, that it's like, yeah, not all computers are going to do the same thing. So it's like, yeah, anybody might say that if you're just getting off the phone with somebody from the insurance company and a 102, that yeah, well, there's another reason maybe why you had to be 18 or older just to be able to complete the process or something. But still, that it's like that was not really the question. The question is to where that they're asking you for a favor to send us a copy of that document. And so that's why it sure seems that way, that whenever you're going to be on the phone with somebody, talking to somebody about something, and it sure seems that way, that okay, yeah, you say on here, a way someone like me can explain how the service works. And so it's like, yeah, I can tell anybody here too that I learned how the service worked mainly about the fact about that, yeah, with the credit card. So, like, let's just say that if everybody else would say also too that, you know, uh, you basically got your knowledge just by following those steps about how a credit card works. But like everybody else might even say too, that nowadays it seems like it's all about the mobile apps. How the mobile apps work, and also about how to be able to share documents directly from WordPress, and also programs like InDesign and InCopy. And so it sure seems that way that yeah, that people may want to know too that all the things that you stay busy with, and you're one or two that at the time you don't even have time really to even put your shoes and socks on. That knowing about that people are gonna maybe say that, well, how do you do that? But still, but on the other hand, that really, you just really want to kind of make kind of a tease about it, but not really. But sometimes it sure seems that way. That there, a lot of everybody else would say too that that's whenever that they're really calling your attention about, well, how do I do that? And so really, if it's really, really your job to train this person on how to do that, and that's why it sure seems that way. That if you really had to put on these advertisements right here, electronically at money paid right here, and so it sure seems that way. It all started by showing somebody on how this works by using the money payments, processing system and all that. But let's just say that if you were to follow those same steps whenever it comes to showing somebody how to make a copy of something, and like I say that, really, what you can do is you can share that document. Open this tab up right here, and you can select convert to the PDF, and then also export, and create the OneNote, and then you have this option right here to we can send it to the enterprise network, to your printer, and so you're given these different options right here. But it sure seems that way that number one, maybe somebody's going to maybe be asking about his tour, that right now you're not sure if your phone is even routed to the printer, and on your hand too, that well, really, how would that work from the phone? Because like everybody else is maybe going to say that if they're going to be working in front of the computers or their Mac, or a Macintosh, and 102, that how would that same thing work directly from your phone? I'm like, well, really, that you had to make sure that you're signed in at number one just for it to work. That's the status is showing online. So if you are offline, that could be a problem. So number one, you can tell somebody that if you're trying to make a copy or send a copy to somebody, that you need to make sure that you're signed in, just for this to work, and then knowing for what commands that you're trying to set right here. So this right here, if we can all see this right here, it says copy the clipboard right here, and it's like, yeah, that copy, copy the clipboard, in which so that right there, you have these different options right here, but I'm like, I would maybe click on those, but I'm trying to show everybody here this right here, this document, but still that so you have these different options to where you can actually send this file to another program, but I don't see no reason really to do that. But I'm just showing everybody here that this right here was supposed to be like a transcript right here of a conversation I had with somebody over the phone. And at 102 is toward it. Yeah, well, if this right here was supposed to be an example of something that somebody had to have a copy of. And so this is something that I use, but the same thing that you were talking about with how to be able to pay a bill, over the phone, is the same thing it goes by as toward learning how to make copies. And so that's something that I really been studying about, but it seems like that maybe not everybody knows how to do that. And but it sure seems that way, that like everybody else might say, that you get that quite often to where that now it's here. Yeah, now it's here. So really, not everybody really wants to deal with a lot of stuff over the phone. So let's just say that yeah, paper catalogs and maybe old school style or something like that, and that you want to know too that if you order from a catalog, then they tell you that it could take up to 5 or 10 business days just for that item to be shipped and delivered. And compared to if you really need something now, but still, it's like that's why it seems like toward it. Most of the time, if you take care of a lot of that stuff electronically, you're able to get it taken care of within the matter of time of an hour, and so it's a lot faster. But not everybody knows how to do that, so that's why it sure seems that way. That leave it up to the experts. But I'll tell everybody here, be quite honest with you, everybody, that from way I learned though that I actually did not always have my socks and shoes on, and maybe I was not always dressed properly. Sometimes maybe I was in my pajamas, just to be able to take care of something important. But I tell you one thing, that the times that I've been over the phone and people are going to maybe say that well, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, well, you didn't get the training, nobody trained you on how to do that. And but it's like, yeah, there's a difference between what you can see on your side and what they see on what that person, a person on the other side of the phone can see on their side. And it's like that sometimes that can be very frustrating. But at the same time, though, it's like, yeah, that this right here, yeah, now not just by having a credit card or a smart or an email, but also a study about how the new service works. So it's like the way of this service works is by may know about the registration and by creating an account. So whenever I was writing this, I was actually talking about a lot of stuff, which I know to talk about for 18-year-old and all that, but still but it's like a lot of everybody else might even want to know too that how come I didn't get that in the mail, or whenever you first get something in the mail, then maybe not everybody's going to realize how that works. And so it's like if they don't know how that works, and then at the time you want to know too that really, why don't you advertise that? And isn't that what advertisement is supposed to be about? Is that it making explaining things? You include a picture in your advertisements. Why don't you explain things very clearly instead of you being like, okay, yeah, that whenever you do put any logos and advertisements, any logos or graphics, if you use any logos or graphics on your advertisements, that don't you think that people would say maybe doing a you may see a little bit better progress. I'm like, yeah, sometimes I do. Like I see a lot of advertisements that I would really recommend that them to like, yeah, but still at the same time, whenever you do see an advertisement though, it's like they'll tell you that see call for details or something like that. But at the time it sure seems that way, that there's enough room on that poster board, by the way, to where you can include a picture on there explaining about what is it that you're talking about. And at the time you want to know too that this right here could also be a black and white picture right here. And you know how that is that black and white, for sure, is old school style, by the way. But like everybody else might even put it to where that really that why would you even want to use a black and white picture, and maybe why would you want to use a sketch as an example? Well, the example I'm talking about is the fact about that some of these people, I'm like, yeah, at the time it seems like, yeah, do it yourself, or if anything, if you think based on your experience, though, do you really realize how this works, then maybe compared to how other people see it? And I'm like, well, really, for how I see it, a lot of times it seems like that's really the way I think about it, is toward it. Yeah, well, really, that maybe you did more than what people thought you did. I'm like, yeah, you can maybe put that on here. I believe that I have done more than what someone thinks I did. So it sure seems that way that, if somebody were to start a conversation about something and saying to where that, the job's not getting done. Well, well, what are you doing? Like, well, we are counting on this. I'm like, yeah, we're counting on this company to be able to take care of this or such and such. And so it sure seems that way that, really, that all all this company really does is, but still, but half the time it sure seems that way that if you want to kind of call it, to point of perspective to a conclusion, to where that do you really have to explain in any sorts of WordPress document about the things that what has been done, and like if you want to put that like on a planner, to where the things that have been done from over the course of the week, and 102 just a little bit toward the jobs that have been getting done. And so it sure seems that way that you may want to think about that, toward that yeah, if somebody were to think that that job is not good enough or something like that. But let's just say though that people might say that I did quite a bit more than what you thought I did. And so like, let's just say that on average though that what you were asked to do was to pick up the phone and call the number and talk and get information about this or that. But it sure seems that way that maybe the advertisement could maybe say something like yeah, talking about toward it copies that making a copy has been more convenient than you realize, is toward all you really need to do is use the button command. Use the command button right there that you see on your phone, and you can easily make copies just like that. And so it sure seems that way that copy this or something like that. And I really would like to know too, Mike, that if the copy command is going to be so relevant to the point to where that there's going to be what you call this like a command or something like that. Copy this, copy that. And don't forget to take your lunch break or something like that. And so it's like, yeah, copy this, and copy this, copy that. And so half the time it seems like you think about that, to where that that whenever you first start working a job, that why is it that most of the time that copy and paste seems to be most common to be like a direct order than compared to maybe a few other demands that you may have read about. And it's like, yeah, same with distiller, and maybe same with InCopy, that from all the other things that you may have seen, though, that you would maybe think to where that, really not very many people are really, most of the time it's checking your inbox and responding to the messages and looking out for your inbox for any local attachments or something like that. So whenever you first start working a job, though, the first thing the first thing that maybe that you were waiting for maybe is a stamp or a pin that you can wear on your shirt or something like that. So yeah, what are the things that you're expecting most of the time whenever you do maybe apply for a job or something like that, and like everybody else might even say too, that whenever you first got this advertisement right here, yeah, check your mail, right? But on your hand, that it's like what's one key factor, remember, is to know about whenever you do check for the updates. And like people might even say too that, yeah, well, the binder, the booklet or the binder or something like that, yeah, check your binder. And somebody left a message for you, or a special note or something like that. But half the time it sure seems that way, that whenever you start working a job, that maybe that whenever you did start working a job, that what you actually agreed to, or that you agreed to, or that you were going to be reading a letter to somebody, like, yeah, that you were going to have your payment ready, and then maybe that you were going to be, yeah, something like, well, what example can I maybe use? Is that you actually got the experience after you received a gift card, and like everybody else might even say too, that's usually the case. Is that if you did receive a gift card to maybe to buy something at a bookstore or something like that, and so it sure seems that way, that people might say that besides an advertisement, it's actually from using a gift card. And so people might say that, you actually, you got a gift card, but you just don't know how to use it. And so that's why it's like, well, really, this is, just go to this website here, you'll just be able to use it. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, that, so this right here actually talks about that, yeah, the credit card, the payoff, for a lot of things, but still, that, yeah, if you had to be 18 or older to do a lot, but, still, that I include this right here mainly about the fact about that is toward that back before I was even 18, that the things that I used to do back whenever I was young, but like everybody else might even say that yeah, you actually back whenever I was 13 years old, you had a tape recorder that I used a lot of times, but think about the things that you had back then compared to the things that we have now, and it seems like that there's a lot of things that we have, a lot of more things, a lot of things that we have now that maybe that we don't realize that we have. Maybe not everybody knows how to use it, but it sure seems that way, that a lot of those things are going to take up a lot more of our time, and that's why it seems like that the first thing that you're going to think about is that you don't really use it very much, but you can probably figure it out if you just follow the simple steps, right? But one thing I know, one thing that I don't know, that one thing that I don't use very much at a time would be is like the copy the clipboard, and I can just show everybody here what this does right here. But still, that what does that do right there? Well, it just basically, I'm like, yeah, you'll copy the clipboard, and I guess it gives me that copy command right there. And I don't really need to do anything further other than, like, yeah, about how to use the copy tool right there. So the Outlook or something like that, yeah, copy the Outlook, and then also the OneNote, create the OneNote. So yeah, and I guess that's going to open up the tab, the OneNote or something like that, or show a web review or something. But I can cancel that. But still, that on the other hand, it sure seems that way, that whenever it comes to understanding about these commands right here, people may say that it's going to bring up a menu of these different choices right here, and at the time you want to know too, you really just gotta know. I'm like, yeah, like everybody else might even say that if you're just pushing buttons, we're not talking about a bingo card here. Try not to think about this as a normal bingo card here. We're talking about commands here. We're talking about these these right here are commands about what do you want to do next whenever you after you look at this file. If you want to share it, okay, share it. Share it. How do you want to do this? So these right here, these options right here, are basically, it's another way of, how do you want to call it, like a typical keyboard, right? And with this keyboard right here, gives you these different options. But really, I have these different selections right here, but like everybody else might even say that you may only use maybe 3 of these. But let's just say if you are going to be using a new command, then for sure that it's going to maybe tell you that you may have to install the latest version of this app right here. And so let's just say that if you were to click on something else, and maybe if you do click on Outlook or something like that, or OneNote right there, and want to know that if you don't have the latest edition right there, then it's going to tell you that there's going to be a message on there, indicating that please update your app. And so this right here, I can just show everybody here what this does, but there's really no reason why I need to open up Outlook, but still that. But at the same time, it sure seems that way that so anything that you're going to be using copy for, and so it's like more likely you want to know too that there's more convenient ways of how to send somebody a copy, but at the time you want to know too that why is it that you're why is it that these steps are bouncing around like a rubber band? Just because at the time, if you even know what you're doing, number 1 or number 2, if you're just checking it out. So it's like right now that your mind is kind of bouncing around back and forth like a rubber band, just because you're just trying to figure out, okay, you got like 15, you got at least 11 different options right here on how to share this document right here. So let's just say if that is the case right there, then for sure, like anybody say, that is to where if you were to go ahead and if you had a document that you were trying to share with somebody, or trying to present it to somebody into a discussion, and you want to know too that what options do you have and how do you get that? I might just from your phone, you can just click on share right here, and then you have the options right here. You have the copy link, and then you have this right here to send files. And so that's how you get that menu right there. So it's like, from the Mac, I'm like, you would have the keyboard shortcuts, like, say the command and all, but it sure seems that way that whenever you're going to be working a job, though, that it seems like that to where that you send a copy to somebody, but over the fax machine. If you have a fax machine, if you send it electronically over the phone using a fax machine, or maybe if you send a copy by taking a picture. And I know a lot of people would say that, I'm like, if that's convenient to you, that you can actually send a copy to somebody of something, by taking a photograph. And so that's why it sure seems that way that number one, if the picture does turn out to be too dark, or it's like it's out of focus or something, but it sure seems that way that whenever you always are going to be asking the question to where that why is it that making making copies of something seems to be on a higher demand compared to maybe other things that you've heard about. And you want to know too that really not very many people are really telling you that we didn't get a payment from you or something like that, but everybody else is also saying to where that they didn't get their copy of this paper that they're needing. And we need this copy just for reference, or we got a letter, something from the tax office that needs to be modified or something like that. So it sure seems that way that that why is it that maybe most advertisements can't tell you something like, that copy, the copy command, so it sure seems that way to where copy this right or something like that. I mean, I really don't know if I really were to maybe include that even on a profile, because like everybody else might be wanting to know too, on your resume, that are people really going to recognize what you do just by that if you were to do like any sorts of poster design, let's just say that on that poster you're going to maybe tell people that making copies of something has never been easier than ever. It used to be to where that you had to make sure that you had enough ink and toner to be able to do the job, but now it seems like to where you can actually do that from your phone. You can actually save copies to your phone. All you have to do is locate those commands on the top left and on the top right of your phone. You can do that from your phone. You don't have to worry about the ink and toner all the time. So at the time, it seems like that if everybody were to know how that worked and how to do that, for sure, then maybe they would have more than one copy for sure, and maybe over the fact that they go back and check their account and then they're going to see that they got all these files right here the same copy in 102, that all I need is just one copy. I don't need 15 or 20 copies or even 50 copies or a whole basket case of 100 copies or anything that you're going to think about. But still, that like everybody else might say, the basket case. I call it a basket case because it's like, basket case, basket case, basket case. What I mean by something that contains, something that contains that contains 100 or more copies of the same thing. 100 or more copies of the same thing, and I call that a basket case, but everybody else might even say that, yeah, well, you can go ahead and you can really call it, anything you want, really, but, still, that I know with me, though, that, a file cabinet, but, still, that, but you want to know, too, that why do you need 100 copies of the same document, whenever, like everybody else might even say, too, where that, why do you want to spend all that ink on printing the same copies over and over and over and over again? But people might even want to know too that well, really, if that's really the main purpose of it, or for any reason at all, that there was a typical glitch during the holidays, and so that's why people are going to maybe say that's what happened. That there was a glitch in our system, and that's why that we didn't retrieve those copies, that we needed to see. And so it sure seems that way. That me being a designer, though, everybody else might say that if they had you in charge of printing the receipts, what are you gonna say? I'm like, well, there's a way you can do that from your phone, but like everybody else might even say do you think that one of your first jobs in the near future is maybe going to be being in charge of the copy room? And I'm like, well, really, I really don't know if I really want to be in charge of that, because I know it would probably keep me busy with all the stuff that needs to be done. But it sure seems that way, that we can't have it to where if somebody doesn't have the knowledge and experience on how to do all that. But still. But on the other hand, it's like, the typical things that I learned back whenever I was young, and want to know too that, talking over the phone, is just like talking to the principal. You talk to the principal, and it's like, you need to get here on time and you need to do your homework. But, still. But it's like, yeah, you being on the phone like that, and a lot of times it's like, yeah, that if you're going to be talking over the phone, with somebody about something like insurance companies, and you feel just a little bit uncomfortable about the whole process just because maybe if it's your first experience, or over the fact because yeah, well, you know they're going to be telling you, I'm like, yeah, that a totally different experience, right? But it seems like to me, and I'll even tell everybody here too, that how long is a term? Yeah, how long is a term? How long is a term? And a lot of companies might say that, yeah, a term, one term, usually up to 3 years. Yeah, I would say on average, one term is equal to up to 3 years. So I would say that on average, though, that yeah, that one yeah, include a sticker or something like that. So I would say up to 3 years, and like everybody might even say that 3 years, and some might even say that yeah, up to 8 weeks, and some places might say that yeah, well, really, on average that up to 3 years to up to 8 weeks. I can just use 8 weeks, and some companies might say that it's a lot of the terms are also calculated by the weeks. So let's just say on average, though, that one term, if you were maybe going into the training for a job or something like that, and let's just say that one term is measured up to 8 weeks, and 8 weeks to up to 3 years, and so let's just say that if you're going to be talking to somebody and they'll tell you that after your term is over, and knowing about the things that you'll be in charge of, and then knowing about that what goes on, but still that so it sure seems that way that yeah, a term, though, your term, like, yeah, you might get that even on a contract, but still that but it sure seems that way that whenever you read the details, though, that how many times are you really are going to be looking forward to a lot of things that they're talking about. And but like everybody else might say that really it's really over the fact about getting the job done, and like, yeah, passing your classes, doing well. You don't need to be thinking about that all the time, to where that while you were in class or while you were on a job, that you were not always on time with getting your work done. But still, at the same time, it's like, yeah, just do the best you can and try to get the job done. And like everybody else might say that, yeah, well, you know does that really look good on your resume, and does it really look good on your work performance? And even if you are a few minutes late, or maybe if you're about maybe 2 or 3 days late getting something done, and at 102, that yeah, well, really, that if you like, let's just say that on average, though, people may say that, yeah, well, 3 days late is not so bad in compared to 30 days late. So if you're going to be 30 days behind on getting something taken care of, but still, that makes a difference, doesn't it? But still, that on the other hand, too, that whenever we're talking about that, should attention be about the gift of kindness? Yeah, the situation be about the gift of kindness. Sweepstakes. So yeah, a lot of stuff that I was talking about, I was kind of putting this together right here. This right here was supposed to be like an advertisement, but everybody else might even say that really that if you were to use it, if you're trying to use it as like a document tour, that if you were trying to send somebody a copy, or yeah, for anything else that you were trying to do with that. But tell everybody here too that I whenever I first learned how to use a copy machine, by the way, I was actually yeah, that when I first learned how to use a copy machine, I was actually I was at a place where they had a copy machine. But I tell you one thing, everybody, I really had to spend a lot of time figuring out how it worked. I didn't really take no tests or no exams on how to use it. So it sure seems that way, that maybe one way of how to be able to improve the experience and your knowledge, of course, like everybody else might say, that maybe the more time you spend working on something, and just like anybody say that really, you spend a little bit more time with trying to figure out how to work something, and maybe that can improve just a little bit, right? But still, that whenever you talk to somebody about something, and at the time it's like you know uh, we didn't get that copy. Yeah, we didn't get that. We never heard back from you about those papers that you were supposed to send us or something like that. And so that can be very aggravating, even if it's been a week ago since since you mailed that packet of papers, and they still haven't received it. And so that's why it seems like that just a little bit of how aggravating that is. And that's why it's like so. But there again, if we're talking about thousands of customers and clients or whoever that's going to be coordinating with those offices, and 102 why is it that we're getting multiple copies of the same thing? And so a lot of these offices might even say that out of out of the 2 weeks that you've been working there, that you might see that in the copy machines, and even on the emails about duplicate copies that are made and all that. But it sure seems that way, that seems to be maybe the one of the top priorities about using these apps, and using the Office edition of these programs, is that how to produce copies of something important. And that's why it sure seems that way, that not only people might even say that if you're having to take care of something important, that you don't even have to they're not even asking you for a payment. What they're asking you is for a copy. They're asking to get a copy of the receipt, or get a copy of something. And so it sure seems that way, that when we speak about copy and paste, that it's like are we necessarily thinking about to where that it's supposed to be like a command, to where if there's a point where you do wind up running out of ink and toner just to be able to produce more copies, then there's also going to be this option to where you can do that from the phone. And if you have an iPhone or an Android or an Apple iPhone, and you have the option to where you can do that from the phone, and we can make a copy. And so I answer a few questions, and those typical stuff. But anyway, hopefully that's some good advice for everybody. And like it sure seems that way, that by the time you figure it out, and how do we handle that to where okay, well, it's here. And so well, it's here. So it's like what does that mean? So let's just say that if you were to include that on an advertisement, well, it's here, it's ready. By the time you figure it out, and that's usually what you see, right? And by the time you figure something out, and you're like, hey, it's here, it's ready, it's ready for you to pick it up or something. So all that hard work that you put into something, and it sure seems that way, that you go ahead, and people may say that you actually do you feel a little bit better whenever you do check your mailbox and see that letter telling you that, hey, thanks very much for contacting us. That's usually what you would see too. Thank you very much for contacting us. For contacting us, and so it's like thank you very much for contacting us. So it's like so you would maybe get a letter like that, and saying something like that, that we got all the information we need to see, and so it's like, yeah, even if it's not the first time that you did that, and even though if you thought you took care of something, and say that, yeah, well, we do apologize for any inconvenience, but still at the same time, it's like, we can't have that delaying the process. And let's just say if it is for medical needs, and let's just say if it's maybe, any paperwork that needs to be done from a relief plan or something like that. And let's just say if it is something, coordination with your insurance or something like that, we can't have no delays. And like everybody might even say, that you think that you take care of something already, and that's why it sure seems that way. That if you have a phone where you have that ability to where you can make copies and just kind of like being like on standby to where you can actually, you would have that phone where you had that ability. And I know it's sure I'm like, yeah, a phone or a tablet, and but still, like everybody else might even say too, that yeah, you may not know how to use all of it, but for any reason at all, that you think that something is taken care of already, but it's like, yeah, but at the same time, know that you know does tracing also mean toward that you actually are able to track that information on another device that you may have around the house? And let's just say if we're talking about like an Amazon Fire tablet or something like that, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, well, really, producing copies. Producing copies should be just as simple as that, to where you go ahead and to make a copy of something, and if you need a copy of something, and just look out for the text message, look out for your emails, and look out on your emails, and then you just download that file, and you're given these different options here into what to do next, right? But anyway, talk about for emails and also text messages and shareable links and that sorts of stuff. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day. I'm like, yeah, you learn something new every day, don't you? But on the other hand, too, that we also need to know toward it that about a copy, though. Making copies is something seems to be a lot harder to anybody else who may be working there at the local offices. So they might say that if we need to talk to somebody who has the right knowledge, just to just show them how that works. And so it seems like that's usually the case. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.